Hey, welcome everyone to an all new episode of TV Dinners. Tonight are going to, I don't know, we're going to talk about some stuff. We, first of all, are going to kind of wrap up a bit of what was great in TV and streaming in 2022. Got some pretty cool ideas for some stuff that I really enjoyed. Also, want to talk about a couple of things that really didn't work in 2022 and maybe give you a little bit of some news that's happening across these
Ooh.
uh, front. As always, well, not as always, but as always, I am at least joined tonight by first of all, Josh. Josh, how are you tonight?
I'm wonderful. I am amazing. I am happy.
Josh was telling me that he was doing karaoke before he came onto the podcast, and so now I am inspired to uh, add a lyrical note to our podcast. I
Oh,
don't
that's
suppose you want to
wonderful.
sing.
I do that all the time anyway. That's my life.
I don't suppose you want to sing though, Josh, do you?
Um, I don't do that.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just checking. I mean, this could be the next greatest platform for you to launch your singing career. Who knows? Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there.
We could be
So
famous
by
one
the
day.
by this time next month, I'm doing duets with Ariana Grande.
Uh,
Yes.
I mean, shoot for the stars, right? If you don't have big dreams, go home.
Why bother sleeping?
Yeah, seriously. Well, I mean, I say that to myself every night anyway, and I still don't have big dreams, so whatever. Anyway, okay. And Tori. Tori, welcome back. How are you?
Hi, I'm okay. So, if I sound like a little funny tonight, it's because my tongue is swollen
Uh-oh,
pretty
what happened?
pretty bad. I my tooth broke, and
Oh,
it
shoot.
got it's really sharp, and it rubbed up against my tongue and caused a giant canker sore. So now
Oh my god.
I went to the ER and they gave me some lidocaine mouthwash,
Whoa.
and that's
Um,
all. They said, "Oh, it's gonna heal," but my boss sent me home early because I couldn't talk right.
oh my god, that's awful. Holy wow, that is pretty
Yeah.
bad. That
But
is pretty bad.
anyways, I actually, other than that, have been good.
I've actually had that happen with my with chipping a tooth and not
Yeah.
being able to get to the dentist fast enough, and it just rubs against your tongue. It does not help your speech at all. Makes you
No.
sound like you've had one too many shots for the road.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
Uh,
Totally get that. So, rather than kind of, well, first of all, let's do this. Let's do a quick check-in with everybody. Um there isn't really the end of the year is always kind of a time when it feels like things sort of settle down. And by settle down, I mean, yeah, everything just kind of not stays sedentary, but there isn't a lot happening.
right.
There's a couple of new things that are coming out toward the end of the year. Tomorrow is Pinocchio on Netflix, brought to us by one of my favorite filmmakers, Guillermo del Toro. Really excited about that. We got some interesting, just to like do a little genre sharing with the movie Potluck. We got a couple movies that are coming out at the end of the year. Not a ton of things though that are happening. And I have to say that, year after year I'm always kind of waiting for something big to happen in December, and it always feels like, yeah, I mean, a couple small things come up, some new Christmas movies, not a ton of crazy stuff. Oh, wait a minute. I mean, I said that on purpose. Except, of course, the biggest event of the entire year and possibly many years in the making. Can you guess what I'm going to say? No, you
No,
can't.
no, I can't. There's so many possibilities. My brain doesn't work that fast.
It's Avatar.
Oh, you know what?
Avatar.
That's Max's favorite too, so that's
I mean,
cool.
I would have started strong with Violent Night because I definitely want to get to that, but no, no, I am talking about Avatar. So this movie has basically been almost a decade in the making. James Cameron has a penchant for some reason for really taking his time when it comes to making movies, and generally we get rewarded with, if not the greatest stories, we are rewarded with some of the best production
Mhm.
and new techniques, because if James Cameron can't do something, he invents it.
Yeah.
uh I love that about him, and I'm really excited, honestly, to see this. I, I'm not a huge fan of the Avatar idea. I never have been. I always, I don't know. I mean, to me, it feels like aliens on a different planet. And it's good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love aliens, but Avatar to me always just feels like, well, okay, another colonializing of a foreign place, and yeah, there's a big bad guy, and he's
Yeah.
over the top, and I mean, like, it just kind of feels almost like the story is super provincial, but the effects and the color and the sound in Avatar were enough to make me a fan, just without really good story. And so I'm really really interested in what they're going to do with this movie, because it also is, most of it, I should say, is around water. And so I know that there's going to be some really amazing things happening, and I did mention aliens. Sigourney Weaver is going to be in it, so I'm really excited about that. Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, of course, Sigourney Weaver. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you excited to see it, or are you going to pass on it?
I'll let Josh go first.
No interest.
No interest. Okay.
I haven't even seen Avatar.
Really? Oh, that's
Yeah,
surprising.
it's just I don't know, something about it. Even watching the trailer, I know it's the thing now to say, well, it's just Blue Dances with Wolves or whatever the case may be. But
Mhm.
as soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, is Fern Gully? That's what this is, right?
Yeah, I guess in
Yes.
some ways it kind
It
of
was
was.
it was very Fern Gully. Like, and I thought that from the very beginning. I didn't want to say anything though, because everybody loves the movie so much.
So I will honestly say I can't knock it because I haven't seen it. I don't believe one should be able to do that with something they haven't seen. I've watched a lot of um, terrible movies, some controversial movies, just so I could speak about it from an educated stance. But for some reason, Avatar just hasn't crossed over into my area of interest. So hearing that so many years later that there's going to be a sequel, and then they're like, and there's going to be 27 more. That's an exaggeration, but um,
Well, there are plans for, just as you're saying it, there are plans for an Avatar 3, 4, and 5. So this will be James Cameron's life for some time to come.
possibly
Yes.
because
He has to be in his 50s now, right? Like, is he gonna
well,
spend
he's
a
been
lot?
making
It's got
movies
to
for
be
like
older than that. I
40
mean,
years
Okay, so he's probably like in his 60s, late 60s.
I
at the
think he's
youngest, I think.
actually,
He's gonna spend the rest of his life making Avatar. He's
but
gonna
this
be
is his passion project.
Yes. This is
I
his little
mean, you
baby.
can you
Yes.
can see that this is his
Hmm.
love. James Cameron is 68 years old, by the way.
But he does, and Avatar 2 has to be the single biggest film ever
Yeah, it is. It is. It
I
actually
don't
like
think it has the legs for that.
no, it actually has legs on that. There's proof. Like the numbers.
Right.
The most popular movie is Avatar of the world altogether.
Although that does not mean at all that even if it doesn't make back the money in production that it put into production, because there's no way that you could possibly recoup that amount of money in production.
Right.
But I think that what they're doing here is trying to set up future franchise success.
Yeah.
And I do think that they are doing this smartly. Just so that I don't know how much you're aware, but Avatar originally was supposed to be released sometime in like 2017. So we're talking, this footage has been around for a long time, or the idea in order to get, and then what they've done over the years that they haven't been releasing it is doing new things with technology, creating new little more special effects. I mean, one of the nice things about shooting a lot of your film, um so that you can have a lot of the room to do big special effects, especially on the screens, is you end up with a lot of play. There's a lot of room to do things in post production. So I feel like it's going to be, interesting enough to go see. And I also feel like this is one movie that you would definitely, if you're interested in watching it, you would want to see this on the big screen. This is not a small screen.
Right.
Maybe after you've seen it on the big screen, then it would, be okay. But I think that the entire experience of Avatar, including the sound, is just much better experienced in the theater. One of the things about Avatar that happened pretty early on is that there was like this odd psychological effect that Avatar had on people. And they determined that it was the coloring of the film was basically like giving people this sense of well-being. It was making
Mhm.
them feel good. And so they would go back almost like, not hypnotically, but they, that was the feeling. And they would go back and watch Avatar in the movie theaters again and again and again. And it was a really interesting kind of period where I certainly don't know a lot of movies that people are so intrigued with that they're willing to watch it, 3, 4, 5 times in the movie theater. That's really rare. So I give James Cameron a lot of credit, and I do feel like this could be the beginning of something pretty amazing. Um, we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens. He said in 2015 that he was in the process of doing another pass through all the three scripts after Avatar 2, or after Avatar. And then they added one more. So, basically everything that he wants to do, he's already got set up. And
Mhm.
like I said, when he doesn't get the technology that he wants to do something, he invents it, which is pretty
Mhm.
amazing. Also, the other thing that I think speaks pretty highly for this film is Weta is involved. And every time Weta Digital is involved, something amazing happens. There's just magic in that studio. I don't know, like whether they got magic acorns from Snow Miser or what happened, but whew, it's unbelievably gorgeous whenever they're involved. So I'm kind of excited. Okay, so we have at least one maybe on Avatar, right, Tori?
Right.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess that's not bad. I'll be sure to pass our, uh g- our stamp of mediocrity along
Right.
to James
Mhm.
Cameron and say, yeah, maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
I definitely will go. I'll definitely go. That's for sure. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about this one. And I know we're kind of doing movies, but let's do movies before we do TV. What about the movie that's coming out called I Want to Dance? Do you know anything about it?
No, I don't. I don't particularly like dance movies, but it's because I can't dance. I think. Like,
Well, you might like this one then,
okay.
because this is actually the story about Whitney Houston.
Oh, okay.
And
I
I
watched.
feel
I watched this special about Tina Turner, so I think
hmm,
Whitney Houston goes like along the same vein. It feels like.
what about you, Josh? Are you at all interested in the Whitney Houston story?
You know, it might be something I watch on HBO at some point, something like that. And it's certainly not going to put my butt in a theater seat. And unfortunately, yeah, and this just I know it's not what you're asking, but realistically speaking, this movie is absolutely doomed.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I kind of feel a little bit the same. I don't necessarily. I think there's a lot of fans of Whitney Houston that will go to see this for the music um and sort of, some of the experience, but let's face it, Whitney Houston's story is really tragic and really sad. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not I can't imagine that it's going to be a feel good movie. It's her music was undeniably amazing, but the Whitney Houston story is really tragic and very sad. Lots of just really difficult things going on in there.
Could you
Um
imagine if we are like completely underestimating the Whitney Houston fan base and the people that love Whitney Houston? If we're underestimating them so much that this is the movie that a week after Avatar 2 comes out takes the box office.
I mean, I highly doubt that that is the case, but I will add a small little, tiny section in my brain just in case that is actually what happens, and then I can fill that space in my brain and go, "Oh, Josh was right."
Finally, he was right.
And then we find James Cameron's body at the bottom of a ravine.
Or well,
Ooh,
okay.
who
No,
did
let's not go there.
Okay, fine, fine. Little too dark, but you can just see James Cameron going, "I hate Whitney Houston. I hate Whitney Houston."
it? He's turning over in the grave as he's saying that.
All right. Let's move on to this movie, which honestly, until 5 minutes before showtime, I didn't even know existed. So good job on the PR guys. Yay. Babylon.
Oh
It
yeah.
it stars Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt and Diego Calva. I have no idea at all what this movie is about, other than what I'm reading right now. A tale of outsized ambition and outrageous excess. Oh, really? A Hollywood movie about outrageous excess. The horror, the
Oh,
shock.
yeah.
It traces the rise and fall of multiple characters during an era of unbridled decadence and depravity in early Hollywood. Oh, see, I wasn't even far off. Yeah, I mean, 1920s. Yeah, that's kind of a cool era to look back on. I feel like we romanticized the 1920s like it was some kind of
Yeah.
really super awesome time, and
And it really
yeah, I
wasn't.
don't
Like,
think it was actually, but but it does lead to good entertainment. Let's face it. That it does.
the Great
Romanticizing
Gatsby,
something,
yes.
yes. I often feel that way about the Middle Ages. Like, we romanticize the Middle Ages, and honestly, it was probably really horrible.
It
But
was a bloodbath. Like a
we
kid
make
just
such great love stories in the
I
Middle Ages, as
know.
if like we could not possibly understand what love was, because they didn't have baths back then. So that clearly was that was what it was all about. Well, I don't know about you, but this does not exactly make me want to go jump into the theater. I love Brad Pitt, but I don't,
I
I
love
don't know.
Brad Pitt too.
I also really love Margot Robbie, but I don't think Babylon is the movie that I want to see. What about you, Josh? Are you 1920s uh niche excited about it?
Absolutely, it is a guaranteed watch for me. I love movies about the industry, especially you know way back when.
Mhm.
Early Hollywood.
Early Hollywood is always going to get me a watch. I'm not going to say I'm going to go see it in the theater because I'm not. Let's face it. The only reason I go to a theater is for the spectacle movies. Although that's probably going to change because I have that AMC premiere thing, and I probably should go see some movies since I'm paying for it. But this, I don't know if maybe I will sit in a theater using that. I don't know,
We
but it's right up my alley.
sign of the times. We weigh the chance of getting COVID with the excellence of the movie. So is the movie good enough that if we get COVID and have to be sick for many days, that we'll be okay with that, or should we just skip it? And like that's a really weird assessment to make, but it's 2022 and this is where we are. Is this gonna? We're gonna sit in a theater with X number of people, and we're all gonna be breathing the same air. Is this what we want to do? How worth it is it? Um, I feel like for Avatar it might be. I don't know about for some of the other ones. Okay,
See,
let's.
I guess maybe on the island it's a lot different, but like for Virginia, nobody wears masks anymore. Nobody.
Hmm.
Like it's not a thing. Like COVID's over in our eyes. Some people do, but
In Florida,
Well,
they never did.
I
well,
know they never did.
okay. So let's be serious for a second, right? Yeah. Yes, the answer is, of course, a lot of people go into the movie theater here without masks, and that's fine. Whatever. It's not mandatory. But that's not the calculus that my family makes. My family makes the calculus: is it worth being sick, or should we wait for it to come on VOD and HBO Max or whatever? And I have to say that more times than not, we make the calculus that it's not worth it right now because there's just too much out there. So it's not. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not just COVID. It's right now it's flu and there's all kinds of stuff going around. But it's interesting that in 2022 this is where we're at. We're at a
Right.
place where we're making the calculus about going to see a movie based on whether or not we actually feel like the resulting sickness would be worth it or not. It's just a weird feeling.
Can
It's
I
very
add
weird.
something to the equation?
Yeah.
All right. If I'm being completely realistic here, just absolute realism in the assessment, I think going to see Babylon would be an absolutely 100% great way to not catch COVID because it's opening much like I Want to Dance with Somebody. It's opening 1 week after Avatar 2.
Mm.
So if I go see it, there is a very, very, very good chance that I will be the only one in the theater.
Probably.
Also, the chances of most of the theater being made up of people that are over 40, who usually have the highest vaccination rates anyway, are pretty high. So you might actually be in good shape.
A lot of math involved here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Isn't it crazy? Didn't we used to just pick going to the movie by, hey, what looks good and let's just go? Yeah, now there's like,
My dad and I
square
would get the
roots
Sunday paper.
and
It's just
yeah,
like,
oh man.
that looks good.
Chemistry.
Let's go see that.
Yeah, exactly. That's how we used to do it too. And now we're just like, okay, well, let's have a family meeting.
Yeah.
Is it worth the risk?
Oh man.
Shall we break out the biohazard suits?
Yeah, right. And I mean,
I don't care if people are vomiting blood. I'm gonna go see that Marvel movie.
I have friends that have been sick so often this year that they're just like every time you even mention that you have a sniffle. And for me, I have allergies, so like I'm person non grata everywhere. The it everybody changes, everything changes, and so even when we do watch parties, it's is everybody healthy? Is everybody okay? It's just such a weird experience right now in entertainment.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this gem, Violent Night. What are we
Yes.
thinking about Violent Night? Is it a C or is it a
Yeah.
not C? Now, this actually already came out on December the 2nd. I have not seen it in the theater, but I have heard interesting things about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So have I.
what's your take? First of all, Josh, I can't imagine that this is the kind of Santa lore that you would really love to get into, but it is Santa lore, so maybe I might be wrong.
So David Harbour is playing Santa Claus.
It's very weird, but yes, David Harbour is Santa Claus.
Okay. I mean, if you look at the lists that we gave everybody last night, we had some pretty interesting Santas on there. So I wouldn't say it's outside the realm of, anything I'm not used to as far as, I mean, come on, if Kurt Russell can do it and absolutely
Well,
nail it.
let me read you the tagline and tell me what you think. I especially love the last line. You ready? It's very short.
Mhm.
When a team of criminals breaks into a wealthy family mansion on Christmas Eve, taking everyone inside hostage, the team isn't prepared for a surprise combatant. Santa Claus, played by David Harbour, is on the grounds, and he's about to show why this Nick is no saint. I mean,
That's great. That's a
I'm
great
in.
intro. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
in.
right.
Sold.
I
Take
hate
take my money.
I I hate to say it because I feel like this falls into every stereotype that I ever kind of rail against. This is definitely the American movie of Santa that just ticks all of the boxes for anyone that's basically 15 and over. Definitely anyone who plays Call of Duty. There is also, though, something very interesting if you watch the trailer where it's like heartfelt and touching. I mean, the little girl that's involved is like, she just wants Santa for Christmas. Oh, it's crazy. Um,
This is Santa. No.
I would go see this one in the theater, but no, I'm not going to go see this one in the theater.
It's
I
a
will
it's a
see this
Universal
afterwards,
picture,
though. Yeah,
so that means it'll be on Peacock probably in I guess a little over a month and a half.
yeah, somewhere in January. I will see it. I will definitely see it. I don't think I'm going to go see it in the theater. I don't think this one is the one to think about getting sick over. I think
I
I'll
might
pass on
have
that.
to.
But it is very interesting because apparently in this movie, Santa goes through a bit of a ethical dilemma where, he really has to weigh whether or not being violent, as the movie suggests, is what he is supposed to do. And then the little girl makes the wish, and it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. It's also, just if I can just say this one more time, this is so American. I can't imagine any other country in the world making a movie like this and the people of that country rallying around it going, "Yeah, this is exactly what we needed for Christmas."
America.
So,
Yeah.
oh my god. Sometimes I wonder. I worry about us sometimes. I really do. Really, really, really do. Okay. Um, uh, I'll tell you. Now, this one is. I definitely am probably not going to see it in the theater. Definitely, probably not. Listen to me. I'm not going to see this in the theater, but I really do want to see this. This is the Puss in Boots movie. It's supposed to come out on December 21st, and
Yay.
you know, how do you not love? Seriously, how do you not love Puss in Boots? I feel like it's
Yeah.
there's just something about this that's going to be. It's always fun. It's always fun. I also really love Ray Winstone. I I have the soft spot for everything that he does. So, um, it feels very Shrekish. I mean, it has that same sort of big animation feel to it. Um, I think it'll be fun enough. And also the voice of Antonio Banderas is
Oh,
really,
yay.
I mean, that in and of itself is just such a it's so iconic at this point that like I can't imagine Puss in Boots without Antonio Banderas. So good for
Right.
you. And also the captivating Kitty Softpaws is being voiced by none other than Selma Hayek.
Okay.
So we get kind of the mix of Zorro going on with the Selma Hayek and the Antonio Banderas. I mean, like this could work. This could really
Yeah.
work. Kind of like it. How about you, Josh? What do you think about it?
I don't.
Great response.
No
This is
C.
fantastic.
I had no idea this was the thing that was coming.
Yeah, I have to say that movies have not done a very good job this year of PR. I don't know whether they just expect us not to go see movies or whether they're just, you know, like maybe it's new surprise marketing. Oh, let's see how this works. We just won't tell anybody and spring it on them the last minute or hope that
Yes.
crazy podcast picks it up and says, "Oh, hey, this is coming out." Yeah, real
That's
good,
fine.
guys. You may want to think your marketing strategy over again because, yeah, I don't think this is very good. Those are really the biggest ones. Oh, actually, you know what? I forgot another one. Um, okay, so this one is actually coming to streaming. So finally, TV dinners, yay! Night at the Museum.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
Another Night at the Museum. This one is actually coming to Disney Plus, and it is animated. So there should be some super interesting things to do in this one. I don't have a whole lot of information on it, but it does look like fun. I mean, there is something about I don't know. There is something about Night at the Museum that always feels pretty good. So I'm not unhappy about this. I also really love when we take a franchise and then throw it into animation because we get all the things that we couldn't get in live action to happen because it's animation. So, okay. The tagline for this is same shift, different night. I do really kind of like that.
And then
Um,
the name of the movie is Night Shift, right?
and yeah, Night at the Museum, night shift.
Yeah. Well, you said shit. The way you said it, it would make sense to have a movie that's anyway.
Yeah, I mean, same shift. Yeah, it's the night shift. Absolutely.
Sorry,
But
my brain works in weird
It looks
ways.
like it's animated.
that's what I said. It's animated. So I love it when live action gets an animated version of itself because you get to get all the stuff that you can't get in live action in animation. It's very fun.
Well, I was going to
But
say
that,
it looks like it's animated with no Ben Stiller.
but this one is coming. It is. It's he's not in it. It's different. It's different. And this
Okay.
one is actually this one's coming straight to Disney Plus. So let's see, what else do we have? Do we have anything else that looks exciting? Not particularly, like I don't really see anything. I do see some what I think are really good movies that are definitely on my radar, but they're not the kind of like big blockbuster December movies that I would say, oh, hey, everybody should hurry up and go see these because they're more niche movies. I mean, they're I don't know. They're just not everybody wants to watch some of these. I will say, I am honestly intrigued by the fact that there is a 2-night cinematic special at select theaters, not every theater, Monday, December 12th and Tuesday, December 13th, for the original Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Earl Jones, in Conan the Barbarian.
Oh man.
So I don't understand why this is getting a 2-day theatrical release
It's
at
the
Christmas.
40th anniversary.
But oh, is it? Is that what I'm missing?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
There's
That
a
would
reason.
that would explain it. Because otherwise, I'm like, why?
So
What's happening here?
that movie came out in 1982 because I'm 40. So, ow, and my birthday is in 1982.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, look, if you haven't seen this movie, it's great. But if you get a chance to see this on the big screen, dude, why not? I mean, that is that is the kind of big screen storytelling that Conan is supposed to be about. And isn't it uh isn't it Oliver Stone who wrote this? Who wrote the Conan screenplay? I think it is. I mean that in and of itself is pretty awesome. So, let's see.
I
What
don't
else?
know.
I'm
I
pretty sure.
You want to talk special events though? Just throwing this out there. February 2nd next year, Groundhog Day
Um
re-release.
we're not even through December yet, Josh.
I know. I just figured special event. I'd say
Oh,
that's the one I'm looking forward to.
Oh, I see what you're doing. You're just setting this up so that each time we have a podcast, you can bring up Groundhog's Day. And then by the time that we get to Groundhog's Day, it'll actually feel like, wow, didn't we just have this yesterday or the day before or last time? Yeah.
Well, it
Really
was my
good.
plan.
I'm impressed. I'm actually really
Oh
impressed.
man, you foiled his plan.
I'm so sorry. So sorry. I did get a chance to watch the new animated Scrooge, A Christmas Carol.
Oh, okay.
The one that's
Okay. Yeah.
the one that's on Netflix.
Mhm.
Um,
Cute one. It's cute.
okay, first of all, they, for everybody who ever made a list, not me, but for anybody who ever made a list and threw Scrooge with Albert Finney in the wonderful holiday musical Scrooge under the bus as number 10 on the list because it's terrible, um, check yourself. Just check yourself. Because the animated version that is showing on Netflix, which is wildly popular, and I have the Twitter feeds to prove it, um, is using a lot. The original compositions were rearranged, and the arrangements are now a bit more up tempo. There's a lot of, I think, better story beats that are going into it, and there's a dog. I mean, that's
Oh,
exactly what A Christmas Carol needed, right? It needed a dog. Um,
I think it
it,
did too. Yeah.
it crazily works. It actually works.
But
It's a nice through line.
when the Muppets did A Christmas Carol, Rizzo the rat had his little buddy. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Or, Rizzo the rat was not Grover, but was it Grover? No,
No, R-
no,
Rizzo is just
Gonzo.
Rizzo.
Gonzo.
No,
Yeah.
Gonzo played the part of Charles Dickens.
Oh yeah, he did. You're right.
And he was
Okay.
telling Rizzo the story of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Yes. And it works and it's great. That particular version always scores super high on everybody's list. But I will say that the animated version that showed on Netflix, it definitely has some sparkle to it. It's really good in the sense that it, kind of hits all the high notes. Although, look, it's a little bit before Christmas. I am going to say this. Um, we need to stop focusing all of our A Christmas Carol's Scrooge stories on Scrooge, on Ebenezer Scrooge. Yes, we love Ebenezer Scrooge for his redemption arc. And yes, that's great because we love it when people get redemption. I'm totally all for that. But Charles Dickens didn't write A Christmas Carol so that we could feel bad for the billionaire misers. Okay?
Hmm.
We need to stop that because that's us. That's just us saying, "Oh, but these poor they just don't know what they're doing, misers." I mean, we have to feel bad for the billionaires. No, we don't. No, we don't. Sorry, no. The story is how Scrooge changes his entire perspective to see the world through the Cratchit's eyes so that he is aware that there are obviously ramifications to his past, but also that what he's doing is wrong. And I feel like the animated version also doesn't get this right because it definitely focuses too much on poor Scrooge, just, like poor little lost boy that just doesn't understand that, hoarding all of your wealth and being a really terrible boss and, providing working conditions that suck is like, he's just misunderstood. I mean, look, we could basically pick up Elon Musk and throw him into the Ebenezer role, and how many of us are going to feel bad for him? Just
Ugh,
saying. Okay,
no, I
so
wouldn't.
yeah, see, so if that's the case, then I don't really, yeah, I just think we need to get back to basics on the Charles Dickens thing.
Yeah.
Dickens wasn't writing about the
No,
happy-go-lucky upper class.
you know what I always thought? I always thought the story was about the Charles Dickens and the little boy, Timmy, right?
Tiny
Timothy,
Tim.
Tiny
Tiny
Tim.
Tim.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
thought it was more about that when I read the book. Maybe,
yes,
maybe.
yes, that's the thing. The Dickens story, A Christmas Carol,
Hmm.
Scrooge, is definitely all about the Cratchits, Bob
Hmm.
Cratchit and his family. And I'm not saying that the story is about them. I'm saying that it's told. The vehicle by which we learn about Bob Cratchit is through Ebenezer Scrooge and the ghosts, right? Because they
Hmm.
basically, at least the Ghost of Christmas Present and what we find out in real time before the ghosts even visit Ebenezer is, hey, you're intricately tied in with this family. And so their suffering is your responsibility in some way because you are being a miser. You are not doing the right thing. And that's the key. The key is that his redemption is by finding out that he's such a terrible person because he's making other people suffer, not because, oh, yeah, if only I had just realized that I should, you know, spend my money more wisely or, invest in this IRA or no. No, the whole story with Dickens is, hey, there's a whole class of people that are downtrodden and extremely poor here, and then there are the wealthy among us who just don't care. And that's
Right.
that Dickens is like trying to say exactly the stuff that we say when we say eat the rich. It's not it's not a it's a bigger and wider metaphor and allegory. All I'm saying is that we somehow have gotten lost in this idea that like the poor little rich boy just needs someone to give him some guidance, and it's like, no, the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future are saying you're headed for eternal doom if you don't change your ways,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
but we keep telling A Christmas Carol like somehow it's just the rich people that need a little bit of TLC. No, the rich people don't need TLC. Anyway, okay.
That really ground your gears, didn't
It
it?
does because I love this story so much. And every time I see a retelling of it, I'm always like, what are you doing? That is not Dickens. What's happening? It's kind of like when I see a King Arthur story and
Oh
basically
yeah.
like King Arthur is just like a dick. And it's like,
Yeah.
stop it. No, no.
He
King
was a
Arthur is not a dick. This is not
he was
okay.
a
You're
good man.
You don't get to make King Arthur a womanizer. This is
Yes.
not working for me. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, I got that out of my system. Over several podcasts actually.
yeah, that was your first rant about that. Okay.
It was not. No. No. Okay, so here, this is one that I just want to touch on because I am excited about this only because I feel like it's going to be really terrible. And that's the way I like my horror movies. This one is called Lullaby. It's called Lullaby. I don't know why they title it Lullaby Movie. Um, it better not be called Lullaby Movie because I'll be really upset. But Lullaby, this is the description for this movie. A new mother discovers a lullaby in an ancient book and soon regards the song as a blessing for her new baby. Can you see where this is going? However, her world transforms into a nightmare when the lullaby brings forth the ancient demon Lilith. I mean, every new mom's absolute horror story. Um, for some reason, I am really impressed to with the lengths that our horror movies seem to be going, and this is made by the creators of Annabelle,
Oh
which was
yes.
also
So this is
terrible.
her. So this is her white trash sister, right?
Yeah,
Like-
or something like that. I don't think there's actually a connection, but yeah. But I will say this: I really like where horror movies are going recently. In the sort of down the rabbit hole of there are certain basic truths to what we do as human beings, and it's pretty easy to subvert just about anything that we do into something dark and scary.
Right.
And I feel like the simpler the premise, the better the horror movie. So this one has a very simple premise. I'm actually a little bit excited to see where they go with this. And this one comes to VOD directly on December 16th, so not too far away. That could be pretty interesting. Okay, so let's talk about some TV. First, I wanted to find out, I talked a little bit about this last time, but have either of you had a chance to watch Willow at all?
No, not yet.
Mm-mm.
No, no Willow, huh? No Willow love. Okay. Well, I have seen Willow and I like it. I don't love it. I want to love it. I'm going to keep trying, but I don't love it yet. Um it's fanciful and it's fun, but I know it's not low budget, but it feels low budget.
Yeah,
Um
I understand that.
uh, it makes me kind of sad. Um it's it's good, and I think the story premise is fairly good. Elora Danan is missing. Oops, no, she's not. She's actually been with us the whole time. Uh,
Ooh.
but it's not. I don't know. I don't know where they're gonna go. It just feels like, hmm. You know, I think the thing is, and this is meant with no disrespect to the current crop of actors, but there is no heart in anything that these actors seem to be doing. It all feels like it's just, okay, here's my lines, I'll say them. And
Yeah, it
other
felt
than,
like that too. Like lately, the movies have
yeah,
felt vapid.
yeah, unless you're talking about, a character, or I'm sorry, an actor like a Brad Pitt,
Right.
like an Antonio Banderas. I mean, like the people who generally really seem to have some kind of wherewithal. Um, but the but overall, it just definitely didn't kind of pass muster for me. I am going to ask one other. I'm going to ask actually a question of Josh. Josh, what do you think was your favorite TV show or series of this year?
That came out this year.
Yes.
Hmm.
And then Tori, you get to go next. What was your favorite TV show that came out this year?
My favorite new show of the year. I'm gonna have to go with Reboot. It's
Okay.
Hulu original.
What was I don't know that one. Explain it to us. Explain what it was about because I actually don't know what
Yeah,
that is.
I'm not following either. I'm sorry.
All right. It is a sitcom, single camera, and it's about it's about a TV series from I think the early 2000s that gets rebooted in present day, and the showrunner from the it's rebooted by what's her face, Rachel Bloom. Is that her name?
I don't know. I wish I could help you. I'm trying. I did see the trailer for this though.
Okay. Rachel Bloom is an indie screenwriter that makes a deal with Hulu to revive the old show Step Right Up. And the original showrunner, played by Paul Reiser, is brought back on board to kind of co-helm the reboot. And Rachel Bloom's character wants to make it not like edgy and grittier, but kind of make it a little more grounded, so it's less, sitcom-y,
Right.
more tropey, and make it so that it actually kind of reflects on actual families rather than the quintessential TV family. The cast for the show is played by Johnny Knoxville.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that now. Yep.
Who is actually he does a great job. But of course, his character is the old addict screw up that is trying to get straight. Keegan Michael Key is like the male lead on the show, in the show. But I think the thing I already said that I'm just a fan of industry stuff, behind the scenes and all that kind of thing, and that's exactly what the show is. It's a show about a show, and it's got a really good cast. I love the fact that they know it's not a made for network television type show. So while I'm not generally a fan of like gratuitous, excessive profanity or anything like that, I think it adds in this setting, because to me it just seems a little more realistic, and it's hilarious, especially as not to really spoil anything, but one of the things that the new showrunner and the old showrunner kind of butt heads about is putting together their writing staff. She wants to put together, these young people, in their early 20s that know social media and things like that. They're aware of social justices and just very stereotypical of that particular archetype. But he wants to bring in, people that he knows from like writers from the 70s and, and 80s and things like that. And they're saying like off-color remarks, and the young people are like, you can't say that. I'm like, why? So it's a butting heads of generations on a television set. And I absolutely... I relish that premise, and it's not very often I look at a show and say, God, I wish I'd thought of that. But this is it. This is the one.
Oh, that sounds good, actually. Okay, so that was your favorite for 2022.
My favorite debut of 2022, yes.
All right, Tori, you're up. What was yours?
Rings of Power. Yes.
Oh, good choice. I mean, not that I'm biased or anything, but yeah, good choice.
Oh,
Suck
man. No. No, I'm not a suck up, but Rings of Power is amazing. I don't care what the naysayers say, because apparently there's a lot of shit going on about how it's bad production and low quality and blah blah blah. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, are we watching the same show?
Remember, it's being said by people that have never, chances are, have never even come close to doing that kind of work.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so hot take on this. And at some point, I would love to actually do a whole Rings of Power podcast because I
Me
feel like
too.
it's worthy of it. But hot take here. Part of the problem, it's twofold. One of the problems is that there is an entire generation of people who have grown up, rightly so, nothing wrong with this, rightly so, loving the Peter Jackson movies. But
Mhm.
the Peter Jackson movies, first of all, completely get rid of a lot of story that is in both The Hobbit and The Lord
You're
of the
right.
Rings.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
two, it changes a ton of lore. It changes so much lore that I don't blame people for not understanding when they see things that aren't that are Tolkien, but that don't ring true to the Peter Jackson sagas. And I get it, and I feel like there is definitely a tug of war happening. But the other thing, and I think that this is also just very true of most fandoms. There are the purists out there who simply believe that anything other than a authentic retelling of source material is never that's it's not going to be good enough. It just has to be the
Never.
authentic source material.
But
And I mean,
but
for a million
no.
reasons that doesn't work, right? It doesn't work to authentically recreate a story that is meant for a book because visual storytelling is not narrative book storytelling. And I mean, I feel like, stupid for having to say that, but it's true. We have to look at the visual format as a different type of storytelling, and people are willing to experience things differently as book readers than they are as passive moviegoers. And I mean, listen, if in fact, here's a really good example. This is streaming. In fact, it just came back to HBO Max. His Dark Materials, which was done by Philip Pullman. In the first season, it felt like we had almost too much book involvement to the point where it was kind of pointless because people aren't going to understand the plot points without lots of intersections, and you can't give that to series watchers. You can't give that to people in narrative format. I mean, it's very complicated and very difficult. However, when writers make adaptation uh exceptions, you can go too far, like dun 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 The Witcher, who
Mm,
basically just blew through source material and said, "Listen, we don't need it's just a guideline." I mean, I
yeah.
feel like what's his name from Pirates of the Caribbean, like, yeah, okay, it's just a guideline. Listen, it's the spirit of things that count, right? There's a Witcher, he's got white hair. That's all we really need. Yeah, somewhere in between those two, like the purists and the let's just use this because it's got the name involved. Oh, Halo is another good example.
Oh
Um,
yeah. They were
I
like
mean, like,
they looked at the source material and they were like,
yeah,
we're
right.
not gonna do any of that.
Actually, they looked at The Witcher and they were like, "Here, hold my beer." Um, I mean, but don't get me wrong, right? Because Halo, the series that came out was actually good.
It's
Like, it was
amazing.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
It was
my
actually
second
good.
favorite.
It was not the source material, but it was good.
Yeah.
But then, you do things like The Witcher where it's like, yeah, no, this didn't stick to the source material and it wasn't good. So that's a problem. Now, Rings of Power, same thing. Source material, obviously, I'm extremely biased for that. It's there's so much goodness in it, but I can't not give it some critique. We definitely have some problems in storytelling in Rings of Power.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of unassociated lore that's being added into the series, which doesn't exactly work. And I think the, as with the first season of everything, there's a calculus that you make, and then you have to bring it back in based on the responses. Now, I'm going to mention one other one. Now, this actually came out really at the end of last year, but I'm going to mention it for this year because I feel like it got the most steam over the course of the year. Wheel of Time.
Mm.
It has a later production, like it got set back, so now the new release date for season 2 is a bit pushed back. But Wheel of Time does something similar where it's got excellent source material. It's absolutely an amazing world, and I do mean an amazing world. If you've never read Robert Jordan, man, if you need a rabbit hole to go down, Robert Jordan is the one. Wheel of Time is absolutely astounding. And the series does its best to craft the story while giving us the visual narrative that we need. So they adjust some things. We know right from the beginning who the basically who the Dragon Reborn is. We know that at the beginning of the book. But the series takes its time and
Mhm.
uncovers the Dragon Reborn over a bunch of episodes.
Mhm.
That's good. That's good
Yeah,
storytelling.
it is.
Um
Uh,
so
that's Stephen King storytelling
yeah, in some ways, yes, yes, yes.
because he's very long-winded whenever he describes things.
Yes, I do feel like we may have that in common, actually.
Mhm.
I would almost be afraid to have a conversation with Stephen King because I feel, because God, I can't even imagine the many places that those conversations could go. It would just,
I know.
you'd never see me again. I would just disappear into the Stephen King universe. Um, I think, I think I think the show that I liked the most this year, it man, it's so hard because I liked so much out of everything that we saw this year. I mean, like I had so much fun with Rings of Power. It really, I waited for this for so long and I was not disappointed. I mean, I really did like it. Yes, it had its problems, but I really loved it. And I love the fact that there's so many new fans for Rings of Power. That's absolutely fabulous. But I, I don't know if I can even pick a real winner for 2022 because there's just been so much goodness coming out of all of these different studios. However, if you had to pin me down and say, "No, you got to pick something now." Um I think that I would go with House of Dragon. Um,
Mhm.
and I think the reason, well, actually, okay, I'm going to back that up. So my answer is twofold. I'm going to go with House of the Dragon as, yes, that would be my number one choice. But right underneath it, on equal footing, would be Andor. Because Andor tells me the story that I've always wanted a Star Wars story to be. House of the Dragon tells me the story that I feel like George Martin deserves, right?
Mhm.
So those two I think are the ones that I would pick as being, hey, listen, if you want the best of the best, those two pretty
Mhm.
much sum up what I think is the best of the best. um I'm so excited for what's going to happen next with Andor, and I don't want this episode to pass by from 2022 without mentioning the episodic gold that Kinte and I did this year called From. Um, so Epix is rebranding and they're going to become MGM Plus or something like that. Um, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And it doesn't seem to have slowed them down at all. Like, their rebranding hasn't like slowed their studio productions down. From is getting, actually, I think it actually has already wrapped its next season. that was so amazing because it's the kind of did you guys see 1899 at all on Netflix?
No.
I saw 1883.
No, 1899 is the
Oh no, we lost her.
Someone's hit a little too close to home.
That's exactly what happened. Okay, there she is.
I hate that about this. For some reason, my tech just decides to disengage. Also, it kind of works perfectly with 1899 because that's kind of what happens. 1899 is like a mystery inside of a mystery inside of a mystery inside of a mystery. It is kind of matrixy in that like weird fascination way that we have with going down all these different rabbit holes. It's very cool. But it reminds me I think the reason that I loved it so much is because when I watched From, I got this feeling like I seldom have with other series where like I pretty much know what's going on the moment that I start watching. I know what's going to happen, right? And I'm pretty good at being predictive about where the plot is going to go. With From, I had no idea. None. I was just guessing. Blind guessing. Like, what does that radio mean? Wait a minute. There's no electricity, but the lights work? This is crazy. What is in the cellar? Why are they digging? Who are those vampire-like creatures? What there are so many questions in From that basically what happens is you come into the town and you can never leave. And so even if you
Oh,
try to drive out of the town, you drive right back into the town. It's the craziest thing. And it's really well made. It's just such a good so I didn't want to let the whole episode pass without mentioning that because I was really excited to see that, mostly because I could not predictive I couldn't come up with any predictive narrative to it. And I love that because that's rare. Very
right.
rare. Okay, so we're gonna close out the podcast, but I did want to ask one last question as I rub my hands together, so you know it's gonna be a good one. Um, what do you think 2022 will be remembered for in entertainment? Like,
Oh.
sometimes you have the year of the blockbuster productions, sometimes you have the year of Marvel, the year of DC, sometimes you have the year of the love story. What do you think 2022 is the year of? Josh, you go first.
Well, with absolutely no preparation, and
Yeah, I love that. I just sprung it on you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm
um,
used to it by now.
just throwing this off the top of my head here, I will say 2022 will be known as the year of the miniseries.
Oh, yeah.
We have had just an ungodly amount of these short contained stories that are too short to be a series, but very um, long, too long to be movies, if you will. Marvel Studios alone has put out quite a few of their limited series, and Disney Plus, just in general, is really cranking them out, and that's just one company. And there have been several others over the year that have released kind of one-off storytelling um,
Yeah.
shows. So I think if anything, this year will be remembered for that. As far as TV um, goes.
I think that's actually a really astute observation. You're right. There were a lot of short one-off series that worked amazingly well too.
Hmm.
That like I'm glad that they didn't go on ad infinitum because that
Did,
is sometimes just untenable and it doesn't help at all in the storytelling. So
did you
good to
guys
have a
see?
beginning, middle, and end.
Did you guys see 1883?
I was trying to think of what that was when you mentioned it.
Okay,
What was
so
1883?
it's a kind of a mini series. Okay, it's not a series, but it's about the Oregon Trail, and it's about right before
Oh,
they leave to go, this guy who played in a bunch of stuff, The Ranch. He has the big mustache and he looks like a cowboy. I can't
Sam
remember his name.
Elliott.
Yeah, Sam Elliott. Yeah, so he's in it, and there's a bunch of people in it, and uh it tells you how they go along the Oregon Trail and you're with
I did
them.
see that. I
Yeah.
did see that.
It's so brutal, man. I was like,
That's the prequel show to Yellowstone, right?
yeah, that is the origin story of Yellowstone. It was good. It was good, I thought. That-
That the
that's not my answer to your question.
listen, if you were to say that 2022 was the year of Yellowstone, I probably wouldn't. I, I would actually go, yeah, you know what? You're right. It
I
probably really was.
I really have never seen Yellowstone. No desire to. Okay.
It's okay. So what's your answer? What do you think 2022? If you could summarize the entertainment in 2022, what would it
Eh,
be?
oh God. The year that Kanye lost his shit.
I mean, it was entertaining, but
Yes. I
no,
mean,
it
come
actually
on.
wasn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't entertaining. It was sad. It
It
was
was
very sad.
sad. He lost it. He went into psychosis. I know how
But
that
what
is.
but what do you think of all of the entertainment that you've seen this year? What do you think sort of summarizes it? Okay, I'll give you my answer. My answer for this is I think that 2023 was the resurgence of the fantasy epics.
Okay.
We we started to see fantasy epics come back as viable and sustainable profit making series and movies, well, mostly series, and that the big companies are willing to invest in the fantasy epic where that used to be taboo. It used to be no, 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 sword and sandals are dead. You can't tell stories with myth and magic in them anymore because they won't make any money.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, I'm glad we proved them wrong because I
Yeah.
actually really like it. Also, just on that note, the new Dungeons and Dragons movie is coming out soon. And I've never been excited for something that I think is going to be so uh, well, questionable. I don't know if it's going to be good or not. I don't know. I hope it's going to be good, but anyway, doesn't even matter. I'm going to love it anyway.
Hmm.
So what do you think? What do you think
Okay.
summarizes 2022?
Hmm. I had it in my head. Hold on. It was really good too. Damn it. Uh it was the year of the cop in 911 and the cop shows. All the first response shows.
Oh, right.
There's so many now.
The
I can't.
crime procedurals.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, we really have. It's funny because just like we retell the westerns a lot, we definitely seem to love to cycle back and forth with the crime procedurals. Like it's a pendulum swing. Depends on how we're feeling. When we feel like we are threatened with crime and things are really not going well, we look to the crime procedurals and we go, "Oh, look, there's Law and Order." No pun intended. But that's what we feel like when we feel more secure and we are ready to kind of branch out. We end up with stories that are sort of a little bit more fantasy-esque. And so the not juxtaposition, but the scale here, the balance of crime procedurals and fantasy tells me that 2022 was definitely a year of mixed. It was a mixed bag. Lots of people felt insecure. Lots of people felt like, no, everything is okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I am so happy that you guys stopped by tonight to have these chats, talk about some movies, talk about what was happening in 2022 on streaming TV. That was really fun. Tori, how can we find you on social media?
Right now I'm taking a break from my show, but it will come back, I promise. It's called The Infectious Geek, and I do it every Friday night at 9 p.m. You can catch it
Nice.
on, yeah, you can catch it on my YouTube channel or my Facebook page, whatever one you want to do. Because I know Facebook is old, so, YouTube's
No,
okay.
Facebook is not old. Facebook is just for old people.
Yeah, for old
Just
people, yeah.
yes, just pointing that out there. I
So,
mean,
yeah,
I
I'm just
happen to be one of them, so
yeah,
yeah.
me too. So I like Facebook. I'm all about it. Anyway,
Uh,
so and you can also catch me every Monday whenever me and Josh, I did that wrong. Here we go. Here we go. Anyway, whenever he and I talk about Doctor Who, and I've never seen it, and he is a junkie, I guess, of Doctor Who, and well educated man in Doctor Whoville, and he's gonna take me down the TARDIS, which
it,
is
it's it's called being a Whovian.
yeah, okay. So he is an expert in Whovian. I am not. So it's just my take on how I feel about Doctor Who, and that's every Monday night at 8:30. Uh,
Okay.
on what Wadco Media. I forgot. Like, yeah, it's Josh's production
It
company.
is Watco Media. Yep.
Yeah. And
Okay,
that's
Josh,
it.
how can we find you on social media?
Well,
Or should we even try?
speaking of Wadco Media, you can always go to wadcomedia.com for all of the pertinent links and information to watch, download, listen to, however you want to kind of partake in the content that Wadco Media produces. It starts with wadcomedia.com. That'll take you to the socials. That'll take you to the YouTubes, and that'll take you to things like the Patreon, which, sorry, I'm not. I just feel weird by even mentioning that there is one because I feel like I'm like, please give me money, please, please, and then I
Please,
don't know,
sir, could I have some more?
just just one piece of money. But that's what it feels like sometimes when people are like, "Yay, go support the Patreon. We got a lot of great prizes for you," and I'm like, "Nope, don't really got that." But there is merchandise that I have no problem at all plugging because at least you're guaranteed to get something if you order some. I mean, some people, their lives are a little drab and dreary, and maybe they could use a little whimsicality in their life.
Ah,
That's
it's
just
gonna
one of the
make me laugh
many.
every single time.
That's why I'm going to keep doing it. But
Oh,
that's just one
you
of the,
too.
the, the many designs you can find over at the Wadco Media merch stand. So, it's the holiday
I'm
season.
jealous. I'm jealous. I don't have a merch stand yet.
Oh, don't worry. I'm going to exploit you for profit eventually.
Great. That's wonderful.
I
Yes,
said the thinking part out
podcasting is a
loud.
little bit like podcasting is a little bit like having children, right?
Yeah.
Because eventually somebody will say something that you will want to capture and it is hilarious. It's just that's just the inevitable state of things. I'm sorry, did tell us more, Josh? Tell us more.
I'm thinking the next t-shirt. Don't worry, I'll exploit you for money eventually.
I know. Oh, I want to laugh so hard, but my
Going on a
mouth
shirt.
hurts. Yeah, my mouth hurts so bad. My mouth hurts so bad. I can't even laugh. Mm.
Oh, yeah. Listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
That's it.
You can also, if you enjoy this kind of witty banter and this fun repartee, you can also join Josh and I on our podcast 10 to 1 on Wednesdays at the same time, 8:30 Eastern. We it, we go through some lists, and I do mean lists of all kinds. Crazy eclectic lists that you would never expect needed a list. And yet we come up with some really cool content for them. It's all about the movies. And we definitely explore some movies that are, I think, interesting and some of them undiscovered gems, at least from where I'm sitting. I have a great time on that podcast. We always have a ton to say. It's very fun. You can catch me over at moviesandmeals.com. Lots of stuff happening over there if I can get my fingers to quickly post stuff. We have tons of recipes for cookies coming up. We're doing 15 days of cookies on moviesandmeals.com, so that should be really fun.
Yum.
Yeah, right?
My
It's
favorite.
definitely fun. And we paired them with different movies. So I
Oh,
have like
cool.
this we have a mint cookie that pairs really well with the Grinch because, who doesn't love the swirly Grinch? Yeah, really fun. So you can catch me over there. You can catch me on the podcast. You can catch me here every Thursday night, 8:30. Next week we're going to do a little something different because we're going to take a deep dive into one show that I feel like needed a bit of exposition.
Mm.
It's already been on for 3 seasons. This season that just happened was really cool and I loved it. It's called Evil.
Oh,
It
yeah. Yes.
Yeah, a
I've
lot of
seen it.
people,
Yep.
there are some serious Easter eggs going on in that series, which I'm sure people will freak out when I call attention to them. I guarantee you'll find out something new. So, we're going to do a little deep dive into the first 3 seasons of Evil on our next podcast and talk about the relationship between all the characters. And yeah, it should be fun. I think it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, it'd be
So,
great.
join us next week for that. And we will see you next week here on the TV Dinners podcast. Have a good night, everyone.